My name is Vincent Arena.
My name in Arabic is Mahmoud Khedr, but some people call me Moody. Some people are like Mahmoud because they can't spell it right, but it's okay. We forgive them. It's all good.
Today we're gonna do a car talk on an analogy that we just came up with today, which basically goes over the different stages of life and how the world really never stops moving. So, do you want to start talking about this analogy?
Hell yeah. So, we were saying, how sometimes, you'll go through a really rough period in your life, right? And Vincent was sharing a pretty personal topic with me, and he was like, for a few weeks, it felt like I got off a train, and I took a pause, and when we were kind of talking through that discussion, we're like, okay, it's kind of life. If you imagine life as this train, right? And life as a train just keeps going. It's gonna keep going forward, right? It never stops, and you can look at it as a train with a lot of different carts, right? You can almost say it's endless carts until you pass away, and then the carts, not really your
Exactly.
life. And so when you get off, right, you have whether you're getting off for a really big challenge or you're forced off the train for whatever reason, or it's your decision to take a break. Life keeps on going regardless, and then you have an option to either get back on that train and continue and get back to life and what you're supposed to do, or you stay off. And then you can go to different trains. You can decide that you don't want to do anything with your life anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize that getting off is not the end of the world. It's being able to experience all parts of the train in a way is good. It adds to the value of your life because you get to experience what it's like to be on the back of the train. And sometimes that is a wake-up call for a lot of people, which helps them get even further ahead than they normally would be if they just stayed in the same cart that they were born into, and the same sort of ideologies and jobs. So sometimes it's good, and it's a wake-up call for people. And I think the only big problem is when you get off for too long, and sometimes people get off and they never really get back on, or they'll miss the train completely, and by the time they get on the next one, it's a whole new era. It's like missing an entire generation. And all of a sudden all the things that you currently believe and held true no longer really pertain to the current situation.
Yeah, and climate. And that's the other thing that we were talking about, was that if you end up getting back on the train, and you just said something really good, which I like, is getting to experience the different parts of the train, because we all will. You'll end up on the back of the train when you get back on, and that might be the worst part of your life, but you might realize some stuff that you would have never realized if you did not go through that adversity and go through that really tough time, right? And then when you get on, you have the option to either stay on the back of that train, or you can walk through the carts like we do here. People, sometimes when I go on the subway and when I walk through the thing, because I need to get to the front, so I gotta walk through the cart. And people sometimes are looking at me, they're just looking at me like, yo, this guy's an asshole, what is he doing? And you're kind of scared too, because you ever heard when you walk through a cart, a cop might stop you?
Really?
Yeah, a cop might stop you and give you a ticket. So there's a risk to it, and if you apply it to life, it's there's also a risk to pushing yourself, because people are gonna judge you, because they're gonna be like, this guy is investing time in himself, and he's trying to, because at the end of the day, it's for you. You're going literally back to the car. I'm going through the carts because I have an objective. I need to get to the front
of the train,
because I know that's convenient for me. When I get off at whatever stop I'm getting off, I need to be at the front. It'll save time. And then there's people that are judging you, and they're like, why are you going through the carts? You could have waited until the train stopped. But it's not as efficient, and it's not, and so I'm saving my time, but you're taking a risk, and people are judging you, and that's literally how life is gonna happen.
Yeah.
People are always gonna judge you, and people are always gonna look at you, and it's always a risk, and if you're not taking a risk, I like Richard Branson, when I saw him at a talk a few months ago, he said, every single day of my life, I take at least one risk. One risk, at least.
That's huge. Yeah.
Every single day. And you could take an L from that risk. It could be the best movie ever made, but you'll never know until you take the risk. And I think another quote that's really good about risks is, you probably heard this before too, is the biggest risk you can take is taking no risk.
Yeah.
That's some shit, dude. Like,
yeah,
don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, I think definitely living with like a no shame mentality is very important in being able to like take those risks and not see it as something that's detrimental to your own personality, not letting your ego kind of take over. Yeah, I have a rule. Anytime that I'm in an Uber car with someone who I don't know, or even just the Uber driver, if there's no one else in the car, I always say hi and try to start a conversation with them.
Huh.
And like the last Uber I was in, I met a girl named Grace who happened to end up being high school friends with a girl that I was on my way to go meet up with.
No way. Did you end up taking her
and
with you and meeting up together?
No. I actually ended up changing plans, but it was so funny because I had just been in contact with her, and she's like, there's no way. She took a picture of me in the Uber and Snapchatted it to her.
Wow.
So it's a small world, and you never know what, just taking that little risk to talk to a stranger is. So she told me, she's like, oh, it's been on my bucket list that I always want to meet someone from mutual friends in Uber. And I said, it's my bucket list to do this every single Uber. And I think she got insulted because she was like, wow, all right.
I'm not special.
Yeah.
This is not a one-off thing. That's hilarious. Damn, bro. Let's wrap this up. What are your final thoughts on the train and life?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of getting back on the train, and even though I have a lot of carts to probably catch up with from the last couple weeks, it's definitely given me like a new perspective, and definitely very valuable, especially to reflect on it and to realize what I was doing by kind of taking myself out of work and being with people, and you kind of need that time to yourself sometimes.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I share the same sentiment. I think what you also need to realize as we're closing this out is that while you're on the train of life in general, you can get super lost, and you can even fall behind trying to compare yourself to other people's journeys on that train. You could be like, yeah, like I took a break for 2 weeks, or I fell down and I hit a really big roadblock or challenge and it held me back, but this other person is still advancing in carts and they're moving forward. That could like hurt you a lot, you know, mentally, and it could stop you from actually recovering fast enough and focusing on yourself. And so I believe a lot in the idea of, it's all about perspective, and that if you're always trying to think about someone else and their journey and how they're doing better than you, you'll never have enough focus to truly get better in your situation.
Right.
So I think that's crucial.
Definitely. And then I would say extending upon that is, not comparing yourself to other people who might have jumped ahead, but also as a leader, propping the door open for other people so that they can get through easier, and not holding yourself back, but basically without even being there, you can still show people how to get ahead and kind of lifting others through.
I love that. I feel like that's a whole new video right there about leadership.
Exactly.
The second time Vincent and I link up, it's going to be about leadership. And that's wrapping up this video. So look out for that.
See you soon in the next video.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon. Deuces.